What's up, good people, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. Because today I'm joined by no other than Mr. Sean Ross Sapp. You know the face, you know the name. We're ready to jump into the review of the new film, The Wrath of Becky, which made its world premiere this year at South by Southwest. But you folks finally get a chance to check it out May 26th in theaters. We're very excited to talk about this film. But before we get into it, Sean, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Really excited to be here. First time we've ever talked movies. We talked wrestling a lot in the past,
Yeah.
but never movies.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here, man. And I don't know if folks know, but like you are a really big movie buff and television buff as well too. So it is excited to be able to do this with you and talk about this film. And I'm excited to talk about this film because whenever I get an opportunity to talk to folks, especially filmmakers, I really thank them for the hard work that they've done during the pandemic. The pandemic was a time of uncertainty. We didn't know where our entertainment was going to come from. We didn't know when the next time we may go to the theaters. But there was a lot of good folks working in that unpredictability moments and put out some really good films. That brings us to now Becky, which was released in 2020 and did fantastic in a time where, again, who was going out to see movies, but obviously things and metrics have changed and folks then turn to digital releases. Now they come back with the sequel of The Wrath of Becky, which has a lot of momentum. It stars Lulu Wilson, it stars Seann William Scott, and this is also co-directed by Matt Angel and Suzanne Coate. For you, man, what was just your excitement coming into this film? What piqued your interest? We wanted you to check this one out.
Well, I did watch Becky. I enjoyed it. I liked the approach of, even though I'm not particularly a fan of Kevin James's work, I always like seeing when a largely comedic actor like that steps into a different realm. And that's much of what drew me to this, because I'd almost forgotten that this movie was coming out. I happened to be on Seann William Scott's Wikipedia, and I'm like, what's he been up to? Because I love that dude.
Yeah.
And I think that he is one of the biggest, I don't want to say victims, but of there not being like an R-rated movie scene for comedy these days. Like his career has taken a hit. But about 10 years ago, I watched Goon, and I was blown away by his performance in that. So when I saw that he was going to be in this, portraying the role that he's in, I was like, I've got to see this. I got to watch this. I want to see how he performs, because I've always thought that every time, whether he was in that realm of a Role Models, an American Pie, or something like that, he was great. But then when he stepped outside of it with Goon and now this movie, Wrath of Becky, I think he just killed it. I thought he's done incredible.
I have to agree. And it goes to my love of independent films, where we get to see these folks who typically are typecast in Hollywood, who now gets a chance to go off on a limb and do something to either really show the diversity or the range of their skills, or they just take something that they probably didn't know was ever going to land on their doorstep. And they're like, well, hell yeah, I'll sign up for it. And yeah, you're entirely right here with Sean. But Lulu steps back into her role as Becky. This now takes place 2 years later since the original film, which, check out the original film. It's available digitally, where we seen her lose her father to some Nazis, lose her mother to cancer, and now she's been going from foster home to foster home. Still a little bit of a tyrant, as she says, like, any given chance she gets to get from under these foster homes, she's going to do whatever she can. And that comes from deceit, lies, and so on. But it looks like trouble is knocking at her door again, because she finally has found a home with this really lovely lady, which we'll talk about in a second, who now falls victim to, I don't know, what do you call these group of guys? I said like the generation of extreme Proud Boys or whatever.
Oh yeah, it was something pretty extreme, like to the point where I'm like, man, I wonder how some of these guys even feel portraying these roles. Like, I can't put myself in that place.
Yeah.
So, but like, they look at this and it's pretty extreme. It's next level type of stuff.
Yeah. And much like Keanu Reeves and John Wick, Becky doesn't play when it comes to her dog, because not only do this older lady that she's grown fond to become a victim of these many group of, or this group of terrorists, shall we say. Her dog is kidnapped, and now she'll stop at nothing to get her dog back and seek revenge. And that's exactly where we like Becky, when she's on the end of returning receipts to folks. So, if you've seen the first film, you have an idea that this is a very gruesome film. When it comes down to the gore and the blood splatter, the budget is definitely there. I was a fan of the special effects in terms of the prosthetics for the first one. They definitely doubled down with this one. And then overall, it's a short film. I think it's like an hour and 20 minutes. And I love my films to get straight to the point. So I enjoyed this film just on that nature of, this is a film of Becky seeking revenge. And best believe you're going to see some head splatters. You're going to see some cringy moments of like, oh my God, it went there, all sorts of different things. So I enjoyed doing that note. But for you, man, what sort of like, and you can obviously talk about the two films now. What was this really the highlights of this film?
There were a few highlights. I think Lulu Wilson has really found her mark in this genre, obviously, based on her career. I think she recognized pretty early with like Ouija and stuff like that she was going to be good at this. And we hadn't really seen her in a lot of movies since the original Becky. So I wondered if maybe she had stepped away or anything like that. But I like that. I loved the appearance by the agent as well, because she was in Hush. She wrote Hush, actually. And that's one of my favorite horror movies.
Kate Siegel.
Yeah, she was. I loved Hush, one of my favorite horror movies that I've ever seen. I thought that the premise was great. Thought the way that they played it out was just amazing. So I loved seeing her. Again, seeing Seann William Scott in this role specifically, I was like, all right, man, I'm ready to see him make a career resurgence. Yeah. I'm ready to, which I know he's got his TV show and all that stuff, but all those were things that I looked at and I was like, all right. And then specifically, one of the reveals of one of his cohorts towards the latter end of the movie was an exceptional part of the movie where they get reintroduced. I thought that was a very clever aspect. But you're right. It was what I would call an abrupt movie. Like, it was an hour in and you could tell it was winding down. And you're like, man, okay. All right, then.
Yeah. In full support of the first film now into the second. Again, folks, you can check it out May 26th in theaters. I'm already on board for a trilogy here. I get to throw one more in there and keep going if there's story to be told. But I think these stories so far has shown to be able to be very full in such a short period of time. You can easily gravitate towards these characters. I mean, the dog doesn't get lines, but damn, I love the dog. The dog didn't really do much, but I love the dog. I think, again, as you said, Lulu has really found her way within the genre. And I think she's going to bring an audience along with her. And I think as her being our protagonist as Becky, I think we want to continue to see her win. And for the losses that she's already endured, you just want to continue to see her on this tirade of revenge. She's 16 years old, so a lot of it seems a little bit ridiculous. But at the same time, like, well, at 16, we were all very ridiculous, except she's extremely ridiculous, and I'm with that, And I think that I think the story will continue to allow other names, such as Seann and other folks, just decide to say, like, I'll take a stab at this. I think these are easy scripts for folks to just quickly want to be a part of and invest into and see this grow. And yeah, there's definitely some really like notable names that just kind of jump out there. And folks, we'll just give you a quick warning that like we may talk a little bit of spoilers here. Again, you can check this out in just a few days here. So like if you don't want any of the spoiler details, because we'll get into the specifics here, because this film is gory. So I definitely want to talk about specifics in terms of like some of the kills, because the kills are good, and then some of the other names that pop up. But I did thoroughly enjoy. One thing I liked about the two films is that typically with horror, there's certain people or types of people who are just offhands. Like in the beginning, the dog taking the bat was kind of like a jaw-dropping moment. Like, oh yeah, we're going there. And then at the end, we're like, well, elders aren't exempt. Obviously, the elder in the beginning too, but like at the end, like, well, elders aren't exempt either too. I love how it's fair game for the brutality in the film. So Jill Larson, who plays Daryl Sr., which is just a funny story arc in his own here. I was not expecting the twist. I wasn't expecting the kill, but I was all for it. And I love the fact that these actors, even in their age, are very much on board of saying, yeah, give me the worst you got. I want to see that prosthetic of my body there. I want to see what that looks like, and I think it just makes for just a better movie with the unpredictability. But for you, man, just again with the clearance of now talking spoilers, was there anything that just really caught you off guard, surprisingly, or just the moments that like in detail that you just really love with this?
As you mentioned, Jill Larson, like getting annihilated. My grandma used to watch her on All My Children when I was a kid. Like I would come home from school and Mama would be watching Jill Larson and All My Children, and now I'm watching this. The grenade. Oh my God. Yeah. And I'm not a gore guy, but I liked the first movie so much that I was like, all right, I'll go for it. I've always kind of liked that. I liked Kick-Ass too, like where you've got these younger protagonists that are holding their own. Even going back to Home Alone, like imagine if they would have made a far more gory version of that. I probably still would have been into it. I still would have been down for it.
Hey! You listen. You say stuff like that, and you know the era we're in. It'll mess around and happen.
It'll happen. I mean, Winnie the Pooh's out there catching bodies.
You're right about that.
So you never know what might happen. The arrow was a fantastic one because that didn't necessarily lead to a death, but it was enough to really get that going. But like you said, anytime an animal gets attacked, I'm like, did they have to? Did they have to? But objectively, it gets me emotionally involved. Every single time it gets me emotionally involved. And I'm like, okay, I really want these people to die and anybody associated with them to die. But those were a couple of the main ones that I looked at. There was the comical Jill Larson thing at the end as well that played off really, really well. And again, Becky is so calm, cool, and collected about everything.
Yep.
There were still some things where I was like trying to untie herself from certain situations, and I'm like, she bragged about that a little bit early for my liking. I don't know if I would have boasted about that at this point when you still had this much work to go. Yeah. There were other things that I would look at and I expected to happen and didn't. Like I thought that oxygen tank was going to blow up at some point. Thought that thing was going to blow up. But yeah, like you said, I think they've left a lot of room. I don't even think they left room. They straight up telegraphed a trilogy. I think they pretty much highlighted, this is going to be the trilogy. This is what she's going to be doing. This is the outfit she's going to be working for.
Yeah. True that, and I definitely agree. I think in the beginning, which obviously I think we talking about really grabbing you emotionally, seeing her and Elena play Scrabble, and going over like likely lessons about that, and still continues to get to know each other. And I think it's a respectable bond because Elena took her in and loved her without really knowing much about where she came from and respective. And I think that's like a really good starting point ultimately to the end of her losing her family, now gaining family with the Alphabet Boys, as I call them, now employed by the CIA. And they says, hey, you took down one of the major operations of one of the largest terrorist groups in America, which now that we see her all suited up with a bazooka, getting her last kill at the end of the scene, like says like, yeah, we can go anywhere now. And I think that's courageous optimism from the creators, the directors here, and saying like, listen, if we're bringing the money here, we got stories we can tell. It's just a matter of how us, the fans, are going to support for. And I think that this film and a lot of other independent films, should I add, definitely deserves to go ahead and get another bit of storytelling in. I think the first one was a good try in terms of like, hey, we'll put something out, pandemic, we'll see how it do. It did fantastic. Yeah. I think this was them saying like, hey, we really can tell some story. We got some we got some backing now. We got a little bit of comfortability, and then now we sort of got like a plan in terms of how we know this is going to release. Again, making this world premiere at South by Southwest is a huge deal. Now getting a theatrical release, another huge deal. I think it'd be interesting to see just how crazy they will want to go with the third film now, because yeah.
And I mean, I particularly enjoy, even though I don't particularly enjoy overtly gory movies, just the horror thriller aspect of things, because I admire sort of the work that goes into it and how you make the best of any situation. It took them like 2.5 weeks to film this. Like, that's it. Like, I love that. I think that's cool. You look at how much it cost to make this, probably didn't cost a lot. Who knows what it'll bring in by that word, but it'll do well on streaming. A lot of people are going to watch it. There will be people just like me that say, what's Sean William Scott up to these days? They'll see this, and then they'll go, wait, Kevin James was in the first movie, and he played what? Okay, I got to see this myself. So I think it's very smart marketing on their part to attach themselves to a name like that, too. And then as a result, a whole lot of people are going to discover Lulu Wilson, Lulu, the same way that a lot of people discovered Chloe Grace Moretz because of Nicolas Cage and Jim Carrey with the Kick-Ass films. And look at her career now. She's doing fantastic. So I think this is a very smart formula that is being implemented here. I think I probably enjoyed the first movie a little bit more, but I did enjoy Sean William Scott's performance more than Kevin James' performance. And as a wrestling guy, we got to see Kurgan in the first movie too. If you remember that. Who thought he was going to be a big movie star? That man's in everything.
Yeah.
So these series have, a few moments that make you giggle and laugh, and some moments that make you go, I cannot believe they filmed that.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes what I look for in a movie, especially like an 80-minute movie.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. This is definitely a film of bold chances, and I think it should definitely receive some high reward for it. And you mentioned Sean so much. I just got to say, if it had not been said, because we said a lot about him, but the transformation should be noted. Whatever you may have known him from, especially if you talk about American Pie, which is probably one of his biggest roles and probably is going to be a staple of his career for the rest of his life. And some people may not ever overlook that. I'm here to say that you will not see Stifler in this at all. Does not exist. And I think that's a testament to his acting here.
And his mom is not as pleasant in this movie as the American Pie movies, which I assure you.
That is the truth. Well, unless Sean has anything else to add, folks, you can check out. You can check out The Wrath of Becky. Be in theaters for you May 26th. Once you check it out, come in the comments, let us know your thoughts about it, the parts you enjoyed, maybe some of the parts you didn't enjoy, and if you'd like to see a sequel to this, the third film in the trilogy here, what would you want it to be? What ideas do you got? The directors and filmmakers, they take a look at these comments. You may spark some ideas, and I have a feeling they're going to say like, Home Alone, that's a brutal Home Alone story. That may be something we could do, because Sean definitely knowing how IPs are being reused nowadays. That's definitely got to be coming out of the pipeline at some point, but we'll see. But yeah, let us know in the comments, folks, your thoughts about this one. Thank you so much, Sean, for coming through for this one. Hopefully we'll have you back for many more. And everybody that check this one out, thank y'all so much. All right, we'll see y'all back very soon.